Karina here, your Lucid Living Coach. Hey, so I wanted to switch it up a little. I went and saw the movie Us, and there were so many symbolisms and so many meanings, and it could be interpreted in so many different ways. And I'm going to specifically talk about the spiritual meaning and what we are going through as a collective on a spiritual level. So I'm going to start off with the characters. And if you haven't seen the movie, I recommend you pause this, go watch the movie, and then finish watching this, unless you're not going to watch it. Okay, so first we have the main character, Adelaide. She was a girl that had some childhood trauma at the beach boardwalk in Santa Cruz as a child. Now, her name, Adelaide, means noblehood. Raised in a prestigious environment, let's just say. And then her doppelganger, or her twin, his name is Red. And Red, we know, is associated with blood. It's the root chakra. It's grounded in the three-dimensional reality, okay? Then we have her two kids, Jason, which means healer, and Zora, which means dawn. Adelaide, Zora, and Jason are all the human names. They're twins from the underworld. Those people are called tethered people. And as we know, tethered, it means fasten. And this meaning is that it's hardware that mechanically joins two or more objects. Non-permanent joints, however, and this is joints that can be removed without joint damage. So tethers don't need humans to survive because they are in unity through spirit or source of self. So it's a part of us that we don't see or look at. Okay, it's an aspect of ourselves. Now, Jason's tether, okay, his twin, is Pluto. And Pluto is the god of the underworld. It is a dwarf planet. However, it was a planet before. And Pluto represents like all our secrets, all our dark shadows, which makes sense that that name would be good for the tether version of Jason. And Zora's tether name is Ombre, which is the dark shadow from an eclipse. Okay, so that is another dark aspect of herself. And at the end of the movie, we find out that the human Adelaide had gotten snatched up by Red, her tether, her twin, and brought into the underworld, kind of like Persephone, right? And tied the human up down in the underworld, and the tether went up in Adelaide's place. Okay, so Adelaide ended up having the family with Jason and Zora, which would make her kids half tether and half human, as well as Red, which is the actual human in the underworld, had Pluto and Umbre, which are half human from the mom and half tether from the dad. So we have Adelaide at tether with her two children, and then we have Red human with her two children. So the children are half, and they can control each other better because they are half and half. And I thought this was interesting because I have been talking a lot about our generation is bridging the gaps between the both worlds because we were born between worlds. Started learning the computers, and then the internet grew crazy, but our parents, and before then, they weren't born of the new world. Now, being half old world and half new world, we bridge the gaps between the two generations. We're the ones that are assisting and helping the older generations see what the new world is about, and the newer generations, and share where the old world was, so we don't repeat history. So we can evolve as a human race and not, destroy humankind as we know it. And with that being said, if we are seeing numbers like 1111, 111, 11s, 3s, 333, anything in the threes, that is God, the universe, your guides and angels that are letting you know that you're on the right path, and or to pay attention to what's going on and to look around you and to be more mindful, to put you on purpose for your mission here on Earth. So pay attention to those signs from the universe. They might not only come in numbers, but they can come as animals or messages and your intuition. So definitely listen to your inner knowing. There was a, reproduction obviously going on in both. And in cell division, it's called mitosis. And it's necessary. It's like 10% of the cells do the whole dividing and creating new cells, while the other one, I think it's called interphase or something, but I don't know. It kind of reminded me of how our cells really do that regardless. And how the over dividing of cells, let's say if mitosis is super, over the amount that it's supposed to be, that's where cancer is increasing, okay? So there needs to be a balance there. The number 11 was throughout the whole film. 1111 is a twin flame number. It represents the masculine and feminine, and then the masculine and feminine. So they're a mere reflection of one another. Okay, just like I was talking about the chromosomes. Oh. They're like this, right? And they're pretty much the exact same soul, not physical DNA. Because it can come, a twin flame, a twin could come in any body. Literally, it's when an energy comes down, it splits in two. Okay, just like the cell division in our body and stuff like that. Whatever is in the spirit realm drops down to the physical. That's manifestation. And that's why manifestation and prayer has been a big part of our culture for so long. So they had a lot of 80s memorabilia and stuff targeting like our between worlds, and we are like Jason and Zora and Pluto and Ombre. Okay, and I also looked up Jordan Peele birth chart, and he was born in 79. So he is the same generation as I am that grew up childhood in analog and adulthood in digital. We are between worlds, and he is a Pisces, early Pisces. So he's literally like almost on that cusp of Aquarius. If he was just born like maybe a day before. His moon is in Sagittarius and it's at 22 degrees. So I don't really know the exact timing. So I don't know what his rising is, but I know 22 degrees of Sagittarius would be like in the line of the twin flame portal, which is a Fucus in Orion. So he's definitely like how his soul and like how he sees the world is very Plutonian and very transformational. It's like the dark feminine and like the god of war Orion, and yeah, so that totally makes sense to me. He's also Pluto Libra, which I am as well. I was born 80, so I've been getting the same signs and synchronicities and visions as this movie. And that's why I decided to make this video. So the name of the movie is Us, which is very indicative and similar to the US, United States. with the whole holding of hands across America that happened in, I believe, 86. And we are all one. That's kind of like the moral of the story. And we are not separate. And we are also not separate from our shadow aspects of ourselves. There's the masculine and the feminine in the twin flame dynamic, and within ourselves and without. Okay. And then we have also Democrat and Republican. And at one part when they were at the beach, there was a red frisbee that had a star on it, and it was on top of a blue dot. I think a symbolism of the Democrat and Republican and how we've got it all twisted. You know, it's like we are all one. Yes, we all have we see different things, and we see a system a certain way, and it doesn't mean that we're wrong or right. It just means that we need to work together, because we're all given certain gifts, okay? It's the duality and dichotomy of the universe. It's very yin and yang. This whole movie is a reflection of that. The movies references from the 80s was like Goonies, Get Out, The Right Stuff. Those are just some of the things. The weapon that they used was scissors, and that's another duality, right? They're doing the same thing. We have our spirit, our higher self, and our physical self. The higher self is more about the heart, and the physical self is more about like the brain and the head. And we need the two to function and work together. And the scissors also kind of resemble 11s. Now the humans used a fire pick, a golf club, and a geode. When Jason had the big crystal, he killed the woman, or tried to kill the woman with it, the buddy's tether. And then what else? The humans get to see the planets and the stars in the sky, but the tethers were raised underground, so they could not see the stars in the sky. The humans had freedom, while the tethers, their twins, were chained and restricted. Red got freed. However, Adelaide lost her innocence. And I think, like, even if you were to like just assume that the tethers are just an aspect of ourselves and not physically two human doppelgangers, then you would know that as a child, Adelaide, from when she got lost from her parents, she lost her innocence because something had happened and she got really scared. She lost a sense of her identity, and that was left there. That could be our childhood traumas that we have suppressed that end up coming up to the surface at some point in time. Especially if you have reunited or have met your twin flame in this life, they will bring up a lot of your shadow aspects of yourself because they are your perfect mirror. They help you grow, and it's a scary thing. Weird things happen, just like Adelaide was talking about in the film, how she feels like she just wants to run. And that's a lot of the twin flame dynamics, is like you have one twin that runs and the other that chases, kind of like the tether and the human. Sometimes they switch roles too. They're just trying to find their balance. So they have a balance so they could finally be reunited at some point. So I also noticed that the human Adelaide wore white and all the tethers wore red. So there was like this, even like the white and the red, like this purity of the white is like this innocence, but red is like you see like the real rawness of life. Also white and red blood cells as well. So what else? The humans have masks or personas, right? Because they have denied and suppressed these shadow aspects of their selves and all the suffering that they have had in their past. That was some of the differences between the two. And it's kind of funny because there are a lot of twins that have had opposite lives because they are a mirror reflection and they have dichotomy. They go through similar but different things in life. So just like the tethers are with the humans, one could have lived, let's say one was raised with both parents together, the other may have been raised without both parents together, but they both had some kind of shadow and trauma that had happened in their life that is creating this separation and anxiety and reasons to heal. A lot of twin flames are addicted and codependent to an addiction. So like either drinking or drugs or sex, or it could be a number of addictions that twin flames can take on. So what else do I have? Okay, so in the movie, the tethers, they couldn't speak, and the humans could. However, the tether Adelaide was raised and with the above ground, so she had learned how to speak and talk. Okay, while the tether Adelaide, she was the only one that could talk out of all the tethers. The tethers, they kind of grunted and made this weird creepy noise, but Adelaide tether could talk, but it was like she was having a hard time gasping for the air. So I believe that when we have certain traumas that happen in our life, it's the throat chakra that gets silenced. Like sometimes, like even with kids, even in the movie, when she was went back, they thought that she was traumatized and that's why she couldn't talk. And it was because that was the shadow aspect of Adelaide, where she lost her innocence in the underworld. So the throat chakra is associated with the color blue. It's also associated with Taurus and Gemini, because Taurus is the throat itself and Gemini rules this chakra because Geminis love to communicate and talk, right? Then we have the red color that is associated with Aries, war, and all the tethers wore these red jumpsuits. I will draw a little picture for you to kind of sum up what I had seen. Okay, so here's my drawing. We have the humans on this side, and we have the tethers on this side. So I can scoop this up. Try not to get that reflection. So I kind of map this out as like a yin and yang. So let's just say the humans are red on the inside. Like that's what, let's just say what you see on the outside of the tethers. It keeps it as a shadow inside. See? And then darker times or trialing times, they make you like more appreciative and humble for what you have. And that's why I put white on the inside of tethers, because they literally wear their red, they're on their outside. Then we have the children. So no, this is Adelaide. So Adelaide, what has white on the inside, because she's actually a tether, okay, in the movie. And she has white on the outside because she was raised with pretty much a silver spoon in her mouth compared to the tethers. And then red, which is in parentheses because she switched places, human red on the inside and red on the outside. So she had went through a lot of suffering. She has the shadow on the inside and the outside. And then their children, Adelaide is white on the inside because she's actually a tether, and she has children with a human. So that's why I put red and white on the inside and white and red on the outside, because there's the yin and yang. And then the tethered children has white and red on the inside and red and white on the outside. So I just wanted to give a little visual for that. These children right here are half of the old world and half of the new world, and they're the ones that could make change. They're the ones that see both the light and the dark. They are both accepting their shadow aspects of their self, so they could evolve and make change and do their work in the world. Okay? Thank you. Also, in the beginning of the movie, there were rabbits. Okay, so rabbits were in cages, and most of them were white. That was the majority of the population, but they also had green or gray, black, and brown, and they were very far and few between. I feel like those represent the twins, okay, the twin flames in society, and or the mitosis, okay, aspect of the cell division, because most of them were white. So the lives underground, the rabbits were literally like free to roam around. They represent fertility, fear, shy, anxiety, bottom of the food chain. They're also abundant in, division, meiosis, okay, because they just have lots of little rabbits and they're about like just survival and reproduction. And that was very similar to the tethers. It also symbolizes a multiply of responsibility. So the more kind of then the higher responsibility that you have. Rabbits are also, they hop from A to B without a plan. Lack of awareness and creation of your world is another. Also, the 80s Alice in Wonderland, their rabbit was kind of like Saturn, right? So the rabbit was like karma, and that it was always late, and it had the clock and the watch, and it was like, I'm late for a very important date, no time to say hello, goodbye, I'm late. I think that the rabbits do represent an aspect of karma, because whatever energy that you put out, you're going to get back. Underground, so the beginning of the movie they were caged, and then underground they were free. And then also the Easter eggs that were placed throughout the movie, they represent like new beginning and rebirth. So I have an interesting story. I had gotten a rabbit after my first separation from my twin. I was a runner, and I was afraid, and I had fear of getting attached and loving something and then it leaving, because this had already happened when my dog got killed, and at the same time my brother was going through chemo and radiation, and I kind of had a fear of getting close to something. So I got a rabbit, and that rabbit lived 7 years after I got it. And I got the rabbit when the rabbit was 6 years old. I adopted it. Didn't think it was going to last that long, to be honest with you. But she really liked life with me. And she ended up dying after me and my twin had reunited. And I thought that was kind of an interesting symbolism in my life. So just thought I'd share that. $1111, two sets of doubles. It's a magic number. It's the number 11 tarot card is justice. So you will get justice. Duality, twin flame. Oh, World War I ended on 11/11 on the 11th hour. So I thought that was kind of cool thing. Let's see. Change, urgency, wake up, intuition, and enlightenment. Those are numbers associated with 11 as well, 11/11. And the Hands Across America, actually that had happened and cost everyone about $10 for them to participate. And that was a kind of thing where this power that we have, you know, because money is power. And how do we get that money? You know, there was war to have high status. A lot of war is because of power, and power is money, right? So I thought that was kind of interesting. And then the tethers holding hands, and the guy when he was standing was just like a T, like a twin flame or a twin. I believe Jesus was a twin flame, and he was on the cross. And so the dude's hands were bleeding. So that reminded me of that. And then having Bible scripture, Jeremiah 11:11, which I'll read that.
You're on the right path. Your angels are with you and are communicating, so pay attention to the importance of now. Stability is just around the corner. Continue working toward your goals with self-discipline and daily rituals. Here it is now.
Aw, thanks, Alexa. She's so sweet. She just always encourages me. Okay, so Jeremiah 11:11 reads, "Therefore, this is what the Lord says. I will bring on them a disaster they cannot escape. Although they cry out to me, I will not listen to them." Super scary, right? But I don't know the whole story, but it was about Egypt, you know, and like how they lived and whatnot, and God had saved them, and they're like worshiping. They're worshiping, idealizing material things and people. Okay, instead of God's source. That was another thing that I've noted. Like they're, you know, and even like Adelaide's husband in the movie was kind of jealous of his neighbor's like nice car and like the house. And it's like these material things that were like worshiping as gods, and they aren't gods, right? Even our rituals and stuff like that. Yes. People are a part of God, but people are not God itself. The universal energy that has created the planets and us is the universal God that gives us life. I did want to share that verse because it was in the movie. Also, the director, Jordan Peele, he quotes, "We are our own worst enemies, not just as individuals, but more importantly, as a group, as a family, as a society, as a country, as a world. We are afraid of the shadowy, mysterious other that's gonna come and kill us and take our jobs and do whatever. But what we're really afraid of is the thing we're suppressing. Our sin, our guilt, our contribution to our own demise. No one is taking responsibility for where we are at. Owning up, blaming ourselves for our part in the problems of the world is something I'm not seeing." So this has said a lot to the physical, three-dimensional meaning of this movie. That Hands Across America were people contributing to helping the homeless and people that are unfortunate, like the tethers. And the tethers were holding hands, and they were wearing red, which they have seen the darkness. They have lived through some pretty painful things. And they were all holding hands, like kind of like the wall that the United States or a president is trying to build to keep people out that are just like us. We all bleed red. This is a melting pot. The United States is Indian land, and it was taken over, and everyone just came in and took their little spots. So we all come from somewhere else. So it's not ours to keep from people. However, there is systems, right? So I feel like Jordan was just saying, like, hey, we've got to do our part and not just sit back and let things happen with our closed eyes. Okay, so that's kind of my very long explanation of the movie. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's definitely mixing it up a little bit. I do like movie reviews and connect it with the spiritual community and the process that's happening as the collective on a spiritual level. This was definitely one of them, and I really like the movie. I want to go see it again because there were so many things I didn't see. Like even like Jason the kid was wearing a Jaws shirt, which also reminds me of like the Monster Underground, you know, uncharted territory. It's the shadow aspects of us, okay, also. But like we have not investigated the oceans. We don't know what's under there. Like there's a whole world under there that we don't know of. We have researched a little more of the sky and the planets than we have in the oceans. So it's this deep hidden underworld. Also, Zora had a pen when they were on the beach of a crow, and the crow is one of the smartest birds. And she had mentioned something about, don't you know they put fluoride in our water? And I know that, and I think a lot of people know that, but I don't know if everyone knows the effects. So look it up if you don't know. Fluoride is not particularly good for our connection with our higher self and divine. It calcifies the pineal gland, which is our connection to our instinct, our psychic abilities, our intuition. And the more that I have been drinking extra filtered water, it's Kangen water, it's like a 9.5. I put crystals, I do Dr. Emoto, and I write all over my jar to create higher energy in my water, as well as adding in like my electrolytes back into my water as well. And I use fluoride-free toothpaste. I have felt like I definitely have cleared a lot of that cloud that was in here that was stopping me from my connection with my higher self. So if you have any questions or anything, go ahead and drop it in the comment below. I read them all. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed. All right, you guys, peace out. Your Lucid Living Coach, Karina.